All right. Happy Sunday. Happy Saturday night, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to the Off the Rails Sports Podcast. I'm your host tonight, JT. I hope you're all doing well. And boy, this NCAA tournament has, for the most part, been a stinker. I mean, stinker like outhouse that hasn't been cleaned in like 2 months. It's that bad of a stinker. It was so bad of a stinker, I was actually watching the Crown basketball tournament for some excitement, right? There really wasn't a lot there. But we got the payback. And I was texting tonight with brother Scott, and we will be doing a podcast on Monday about this. And Scott called it. He said, man, I thought the game was over. I had Houston. I had a future on them, and I thought it was over. There's no chance. You've seen enough of these games. Basically, you can just wait and get fouled out, and get the game over. And Houston goes on an 11-1 run in the last minute and 14, and I think Jim Nantz went to heaven. I think he was so excited. Houston alum, probably the most famous Houston alum in the broadcasting business. And Houston just won it. I mean, I made a prediction last night, and I was wrong. I said if Duke got to 65, they'd win. They got to 67, and they didn't. The final score, 70-67. Like I said, 11-1 run in the last minute, 14. Houston did it, and I could tell you, I watched the post game, and Kelvin Sampson, man, that guy's got a chip on his shoulder. He's like, hey, man, nobody respected us, 34-3. I think he said 18-1 in the Big 12, and it was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, man, it's like Trump after he won. It's like, hey, man, I'm coming for vengeance. I'm like, wow, congratulations. Okay, you guys won. They did what I thought they couldn't do. They played great defense. They played really, really well. I don't know. I'm really going to have to think about it. I don't really see Duke choking here, but Houston came up and took it. They just took the game. And sadly, they didn't do what Auburn should have done. Auburn should have took that game. That game was there. Florida was just the better team. And Scott and I both predicted at the beginning of the tournament that they reminded us a lot of UConn 2 years ago that won back-to-back titles. And they still do. When the game was in doubt, when Auburn had a chance to actually make a move, that's when Florida showed their character. And they literally have the most exciting player who's not named Cooper Flagg in the tournament in Clayton Jr. That kid he sure hits a lot of big shots. I think Broome is a really, really amazing player. I just think he was hurt. Scott and I talked about that. And the guy can only do so much. It's the inevitable thing, It's like Brian says, hey, man, if you're on the field, they expect you to perform. But then they guilt you into getting on the field. And you're only 70 or 80%. So if you perform at that level, you're meeting expectations. But the fans, they're going to rain down on you. And I just harken back to Kevin Durant when the media and the Golden State Warriors shamed him into going into the finals against Toronto, and he blew out his Achilles heel. Wow, what a shock he didn't re-sign with them. What a shock, huh? And Johnny Broome, hearts out to him. He said after the game, it hurts. I get it. The kid put everything he had into it, and the team did. Look, that's what we love about sports. At the end of the day, there's a winner and a loser, and we don't have to sit here and deal with conspiracy theories, for the most part, hopefully. We have our days. Right? We could talk about the draft. LeBron didn't help that out at all when he said, well, you kind of figured Cleveland was going to get the first pick when I was up. Like, oh, great. Let's get the Ewing to the Knicks type stuff going again, right? So Cooper Flagg, even in defeat, was magnificent. Fourth freshman to win the Wooden Award, and man, what an esteemed crowd he was in. Zion Williamson, Anthony Davis, and Kevin Durant were the other freshman winners. Unbelievable. Juju Watkins won the Wooden Award on the women's side. We are going to have the finals tonight. We're going to see UConn taking on South Carolina. And, I'm really rooting for Paige Bucker and Sarah Strong over at UConn. You know, Gino, the coach there, it's been a long drought since they've won something. He's taking it on him. He said, it's all my fault. Yeah, I don't know about that, but sometimes the things ebb and flow. And, you know, whatever it is. All right, let's get over to baseball real quick. And the Dodgers broke out of their prolonged slump, beat the Phillies 3-1. I watched that game. You know, they're just so relentless. Max Muncy's hitting a $111, gets a double, then they get a home run. And next thing you're up there 2-1. I mean, it's just, they just come at you so many different ways. There is holes in the lineup, but man, when you're just sitting there navigating the minefield, sometimes a tree branch will fall and kill you. And that's exactly what happens against the Dodgers, right? Like they didn't need any more good news. Ohtani threw 26 pitches in a bullpen session. Just amazing what he did. I mean, that guy is just, I don't know, MVP, man. What are you going to say? I hate telling you how good the damn Dodgers are. You know? Just insane. The Tigers took down the White Sox. The White Sox started out good. They're now 2-6. Tigers 7-2. Twins beat the Astros. Astros are middling, 3-5. They just, I know it's early. I do. We're not even at 10 games. And finally, the Twins broke through. First home win. No, it isn't their first home. Yeah, it is. It's their first home win. Sorry. Looking at the wrong number. Hey! More than a pretty face. All right, the Cubs took down the Padres. Second loss for the Padres this year. It is just something else and something else, I can tell you that. The Nationals beat the D-backs 4-3. Dodgers, as I said, beat the Phillies 3-1. Yankees took down the Pirates, who are just starting out of the gate just terrible. Just bloody terrible. 10-4. Orioles 8-1 over the Royals. Orioles aren't even at 500. Who would have thought that after 9 games? Rangers, they keep rolling. They're 7-2, 6-4 over the Rays. The Mets, walk-off. Lindor, 3-2 over the Blue Jays. Finally, the Reds break out of the snide, 11-7. Marlins beat the Braves. Man, I thought the Braves were going to get a little traction with that 10-0 win yesterday. No, no such luck. Marlins 5-4, Braves 1-8. Who saw that coming? Giants beat the Mariners, and man, the Mariners, they literally, if the other team scores 2 runs, it's like, I think the game's over. They start waving the white flag. And I can't think of the GM of the Mariners off the top of my head, but man, why didn't you go out and get a goddamn hitter? You got the best starting pitching staff in baseball. How about a little help? Christ's sakes. My beloved Red Sox postponed against the Cardinals, and that's what we had there. Let's head on over to the league. Seems like the Knicks beat the Hawks. You know, right now it's just the dull days. We're just jockeying for position. We're just doing that thing. Grizzlies beat the Pistons. Pistons are playing great. From last place into the playoffs, fantastic. Utterly fantastic. T-Wolves beat the 76ers, who were literally doing the tank job to keep their draft pick, 114-109. And the Bucks in overtime beat the Heat. And that's what we got. And I will say this. We got Darlington today. And Ovechkin tied Gretzky the other night. And I don't know if you saw this, but with 2 minutes left, the other team pulled the goal, and the coach said, "You want to go in?" And he said, "No, I don't want to score the goal that beats the great one with an empty netter." And one of his teammates actually did get an empty netter, and Gretzky gave him the puck afterwards. He was in the building, possibly for the ceremony. They're playing the Islanders. Tell me what an amazing ticket that's going to be to get. Yeah, no kidding, right? So we got the final on Monday. We got Houston, the Cinderella Kids, playing Florida. I'm assuming the line's going to be Florida, probably about 2. I'm riding with Houston. What am I going to do? I got them on a future. You know, I wish it would have been Houston and Auburn, because Scott had a future on Auburn. He's really good at that stuff. He is really good at that. He doesn't take a lot of credit for it, but I'm telling you, man, that guy is sharp. And I'll tell you what, a lot of our picks on the podcast were amazing. They were just bloody amazing. I was telling Scott, I was like, man, it's like, what are we doing behind the curtain here? And he's like, yeah, maybe that's what you ought to name your movie podcast. I was like, yeah, thanks for the inspiration, brother. I know he's more talented than me. I just can't tell him that. We're too competitive, right? I'm getting milk. That's my celebratory. It's like the Indy 500, drinking milk instead of champagne or whiskey. All right, everybody. If you could, hit that like and subscribe button. It really appreciate it. We're going to figure out a way to get this universe going. And leave some comments if you want. And go Cougars. Go Cougars. All right, we'll see you soon.